Hello everyone, welcome to our weekly SIG meeting. Today we have plenty of items on the agenda. The first one is from Polly. We have Polly.
No, he said in Slack that he won't be able to make the meeting, unfortunately, but asked us to discuss it given that the KEP deadline is this week.
Okay. And what was the KEP about? It's
Dynamic resource allocation.
Right. Does anyone has an opinion about anything that should prevent graduating it to beta?
So one thing I remember from this CAP at long time ago, the proposal there was for Autoscaler to, during simulation, to send RPCs to some driver, and I don't think that is going to work reasonably at large scale. I'm not sure if this is still the current proposal. I'm trying to read the CAP now.
Okay, Daniel, could you please read it? And if there is still a case, let me know, and we probably will need to put it on hold, or at least don't give approval from our side if it requires cluster autoscaler to issue RPCs for every simulation.
Yeah, I'm looking into that now.
Okay, next one, Suraj. Suraj, do we have Suraj?
I think he said he was out for a holiday today.
Okay. Also, kubectl load roster deployment. I think that we actually discussed the first item last week. And the guy, any updates on adding new reviewers?
No, nothing at the moment.
Lali. No Lali here. Ping for PR to be reviewed, so we'll need to take a look. Jack. Was it entirely covered last time, or there was some missing things that you would like to revisit?
I don't have the doc open. Look, let me open it for a second. I'll come back in a second. I'll raise my hand when I'm ready to answer.
Okay, so Ahmed.
Yeah, I have two PRs that are waiting for review. The first one is in Kubernetes related to the HP. There is a bug in it. Still waiting for review. And the second one, you already did the review. I addressed the comments, so I'm waiting for a second review.
Okay. Jor Tur Fer.
Yeah, I am Jorge. I would like. I'm here with Demian, folk from Instrumentation SIG, and we would like to propose or to discuss an idea that we have, because first of all, I'm a part of KDAS Maintainer Council. So we are looking for how can we improve the autoscaling metrics, metrics, custom metrics, and external metrics. And the problem that we have found, and it's already discussed also in the custom metrics API server, is that currently we also can use one service behind each metric API. If you choose Prometheus adapter for external metrics, that's the only option that you have. And it's a bit blocker, and there are some cloud providers such as GCP who are already using external metrics API for their own internal stuff. So our users are blocked by this limitation. We know that we are late for this for this frozen or for this release period, but we would like to present the cap for adding support, adding support for multiple metric behind each metric type, just for getting fast feedback or feedback about if it's something that you will be willing to address or to include, or not, just for looking for another solution. Because the original idea was creating a proxy on top of those metric servers, but it's true that this is not affecting only to KEDA users, but any Kubernetes user, because the metrics API is quite limiting in those things. So instead of creating our own proxy, reinventing the wheel, we are here just proposing to include this somehow into Kubernetes, at least for these metrics. We have some ideas. I have drafted a KEP with some top-level ideas about how this could be done. I'm willing to implement this. I'm not just asking for you to implement. I'm here just for sharing our proposal, just for getting feedback about if you think that this is doable or you directly reject this option and we need to look for another solution. Demian has written the KEP and the issue, and I don't know how, to be honest, this is the first time that I'm in a meeting on like this, so I don't know how is the process. Hi, Demian.
Okay,
Hey.
so thank you. Hi, Damon, and hi, Jorge. So the quick answer, yes, probably we would like to have it. The problem with multiple custom metrics adapter has been known for a while. So if you are willing to tackle this issue, then definitely yes. Especially if you also want to code it. On like high-level comment, please also include the changes that you want to make to HPA to make it happen, because right now you are modifying only okay, there is a change. So I'll take a look at this proposal.
Yeah, for sure. Our goal is just for having the blocker right now or not. If you are willing to add this, we can follow the whole process, discuss over the KEP, and follow the regular process. But if you will have rejected it instantly, we have to start with our own way.
I don't. Well, I personally don't have anything against it, but let me ask the rest of the community. Is there anyone who would like to reject this idea outright?
I'd like to give the KEPs a quick read through, but absolutely not in principle. Like as you say, these are issues that have affected people for a very long time. It's one of the issues that we have internally as well.
Reason why we are coming to your SIG and not, for example, API machinery or instrumentation directly is because first, the problem with the metrics API only affects metrics API. So normally in Kubernetes, an aggregated API is only meant to be served by one service, and that's normal. You wouldn't expect this kind of resources to be served by multiple servers. But for metrics API specifically, like you have to support that. So we don't want to add this support in API machinery directly because it doesn't make sense in theory. And as to why not in SIG instrumentation, it's because, well, as George mentioned, we would have to implement our own proxy, and that's not very convenient. So we could, like, the idea was to directly do that at the HPA level, since that's the only use case for it. And that's what the KEP covers today. Okay.
As I said, on high level, it looks reasonable. I had to look at the details, but yeah, right now, looks legit. Please go for it.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay, David. We have David Ben. No.
Yes, I'm here, trying to unmute, sorry.
there you are.
Last week I was working on another product where we had a deprecation of Azure API. And so I took the opportunity of looking at what we're using in Cluster Autoscaler and figure out that we are not impacted by this deprecation anyway, but sooner or later it will happen. And I was wondering if there is any plan or how do we handle that basically with tracking this and who is making the migration when this kind of things happen.
I think I've seen a PR migrating some Azure SDK to a newer version waiting to be reviewed.
It got closed. It got opened and then closed again, but with no comment as to why it's been closed.
I can speak to this. Sorry for just reading my mouth. So I recently updated the version that is so downstream of the Azure provider of Cluster Autoscaler is the cloud provider Azure project itself, which is an independent project from InTree at this point. And it has its own dependencies on the V1 Azure SDKs. So essentially, the Cluster Autoscaler provider for Azure is going to have to follow cloud provider Azure as it adopts V2. I will probably be one of the engineers sort of tracking that and implementing that. So you can ping me on Slack. I'll try to be responsive on Cluster Autoscaler Slack, or you can DM me. But I think that the high level is we have to put pressure on cloud provider. Anyone that's upstream of cloud provider Azure needs to put pressure there to encourage them to adopt V2 as quickly as possible so that the dependency graph can be fully sanitized. Does that make sense, David?
I think it does, but when you say V2, is that the latest recommended one?
Right, it's a breaking version upgrade in terms of the Azure SDKs. So the
Is that the
V1
one that
is like the legacy Azure SDK for Go, and then V2 is a next level one from like a year, 18 months ago. That's totally breaking, and V1 is now in a kind of, you know,
So
LTS
the guide
type.
that I have linked in the document, is that pointing to the V2? I haven't seen this.
You can send that to me and I can clarify that, but probably I don't know without knowing which
I'll do
document you're
that
talking
on
about.
the SIG Autoscaling Slack channel. But
That sounds great.
thank you, Jack.
When you say we should put more pressure, what type of pressure do you actually mean?
That's a great question. Commenting on issues in Cloud Provider Azure, making sure there is a definitive issue, just essentially acting as a vote in the community for priority, saying, you know, this is important to us. We are dependent on you. And, you know, the alternative plan, if Cloud Provider Azure doesn't want to do that, is to independently refactor the code so that all the various Azure libraries that are relied upon in the Kubernetes ecosystem, you know, there's a good reason why everybody sort of depends on Cloud Provider Azure for doing very basic CRUD operations with Azure. There's, you know, we can assume that Cloud Provider Azure is the kind of definitive source of truth for how to interact with Azure. It uses the SDK libraries themselves to do that work under the hood. And so we don't want the community to splinter and have every project have to maintain all that stuff themselves. So we just want Cloud Provider Azure to keep that single source of truth surface area, but to update to V2 so they're current. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And so you're suggesting updating some issue on the provider. Are there any actions that we could also take? I don't know. Is there some meeting where Azure cloud providers meet that I know David could attend, or someone from us, or anything like that?
That's a great call. I'll look into that and I'll paste it in the Slack right here, David. You can always hit me up. They're based in Shanghai, so the hours are going to be exact opposite of this probably, but but that's if they have a meeting regularly, that would be a good option as well.
Can you also pass some internal requests to take a look at our use case?
Yes, That's already been done. But
Oh, okay.
so in terms of getting the community involved, that will help my whatever internal back channeling is going on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, getting back to hands, Jack. I think that you.
Yeah, so I read over that. I don't have anything to add. So I was helped last week. Thanks.
Okay, Guy.
Yeah, just a quick one. I'm gonna say it just because it'll turn up in people's notes. Then we're seeing a couple of Otter Pilot, Otter AI assistants turn up in the weekly meeting. The project's view is that they should be kicked. I'm gonna reach out to SIG Contracts because I think there is some setup we can do to automatically kick them out. So in the future, they should hopefully be blocked from joining meetings.
Okay. So we went through hands and official agenda. Are there any other topics that you would like to discuss today? Okay, no volunteers, so let me go for people who hasn't spoken yet, one by one. Sophie?
No,
Anything?
nothing.
Mika?
Nothing for me.
Chris?
Nothing.
Kevin?
Nothing.
Ray?
I'm good, thanks.
Jesse?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Maciek?
Maciek said in the chat, nothing.
Yeah, okay. Joachim?
Nothing, thanks.
Lois?
Nothing, figure.
Sakari?
One thing, this first item we discussed this Patrick Ole's poly, the CAP approval. We are continuing the chat. I mean the discussion on the chat, and Patrick is just typing in something. So I don't know if you want to continue the discussion there, or I don't know what's the
On which chat? On
Slack.
On the chat of the Zoom meeting. So this chat
Not,
will go away.
it's in the SIG Autoscaling Slack channel.
Oh, okay, okay. Up to you. So you have time, you have attention. So if you think you have a case, we can discuss it right now. If you prefer to stick to the...
Well, I'm not an expert on that one. Patrick is not able to join. He's on the Slack typing
Okay,
right now.
so let's continue on Slack.
Yeah. Okay.
David?
Nothing for me.
John?
Nothing today, thanks.
Michelle?
I'm fine, thank you.
Joel?
No thanks.
Okay, looks like that we are done. So thank you all for joining, and see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.